Before we begin, Darkmind Investigation wants to make one thing clear. This documentary is presented for educational and informational purposes only. The events discussed involve real people and ongoing legal proceedings. All individuals are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. This content does not glorify violence, promote harm, or sensationalize tragedy. Graphic details have been intentionally avoided out of respect for the victims and their families. Our goal is to examine documented facts, explore warning signs, and encourage awareness, accountability, and discussion around real-world consequences. Viewer discretion is advised. Welcome to Darkmind Investigation, a channel dedicated to examining the darker realities that can exist beneath seemingly ordinary lives. Here, we explore real criminal cases through a careful, factual lens focusing not on shock value, but on understanding behavior, recognizing warning signs, and honoring the lives affected by violence. These stories are not entertainment in the traditional sense. They are cautionary accounts. They are reminders that appearances can deceive. And they are testimonies to lives permanently changed. Tonight's case shook the state of Utah, fractured multiple families, and left a decorated soldier missing. This is the story of Matthew Johnson and Jennifer Gladhill. At 11:47 p.m., a phone call was placed to law enforcement. The voice on the line was calm, controlled. Jennifer Gladhill reported her husband, Matthew Johnson, missing. At that moment, officers had no reason to suspect anything unusual. Missing person calls are tragically common, and many resolve without criminal involvement. But this call was different. What no one listening could have known was that this was not the beginning of a search. It was the final act in a crime already committed. To those who knew them, Jennifer and Matthew appeared to have built a life defined by stability and success. They lived in a large home in Cottonwood Heights, Utah, raising 3 young children in what looked like a disciplined, structured household. Matthew Johnson, 51 years old, was a Green Beret with the Utah National Guard's 19th Special Forces Group. He had served his country for more than a decade and earned the respect of those who worked beside him. Friends described him as reliable, analytical, and deeply committed to both his military service and his family. Jennifer Gladhill, 42, was viewed as a supportive military spouse and hands-on mother. She was described as reserved, polite, and largely private. To neighbors and acquaintances, nothing about the family suggested danger or instability. But court records would later reveal a very different reality. Behind closed doors, the marriage had been deteriorating for months. By July 2024, discussions of divorce had already begun. The relationship was marked by escalating conflict, emotional volatility, and persistent tension. In August 2024, Jennifer filed for a temporary protective order against Matthew, alleging fear for her safety. Such claims are taken seriously by the courts, but when the evidence was reviewed, inconsistencies emerged. Video recordings showed Jennifer appearing unafraid and confrontational. Text messages revealed repeated verbal attacks, belittlement, and emotionally charged exchanges. On September 16, 2024, the court dismissed the protective order, finding insufficient evidence of abuse. The judge noted the conduct of the parties reflected a highly dysfunctional marriage that should have ended long before reaching this point. To the court, the solution was clear: divorce. What the court could not see was that Jennifer had already decided the marriage would end in a far more final way. As September continued, Matthew Johnson's behavior began to change. Friends and colleagues noticed he seemed increasingly uneasy. Normally composed and predictable, Matthew appeared distracted and cautious. He began spending nights at a National Guard facility, not because of deployment or duty, but because he felt unsafe returning home. In private conversations, Matthew expressed concern about Jennifer's behavior, describing it as erratic and increasingly alarming. In one of his last discussions with longtime friend Kevin Thompson, Matthew spoke with clarity. He believed the marriage was no longer salvageable. Divorce, he said, was necessary. He was preparing to move forward. What Matthew did not know was that Jennifer had already emotionally detached from the marriage. She was involved in an affair, an intense relationship that consumed her attention and emotional energy. This was not a fleeting connection. Jennifer confided deeply in her lover, sharing frustrations, grievances, and increasingly disturbing thoughts. On September 19, 2024, Jennifer showed her lover a loaded Glock 19X kept in the home. At the time, it did not raise immediate concern. Firearms are common in military households. Later, investigators would view this moment differently. Jennifer also arranged for her 3 children to stay with their parents, ensuring the home would be empty. On September 20th, Matthew confronted Jennifer after discovering the affair. Witnesses later reported hearing raised voices. According to Jennifer's own statements, the argument was intense, fueled by years of unresolved conflict and betrayal. Eventually, the argument ended. Matthew went to sleep. In the early morning hours of September 21st, 2024, while Matthew lay asleep and unaware, Jennifer Gladhill made a decision that would permanently alter multiple lives. Using Matthew's own firearm, she shot him while he slept. There was no confrontation, no struggle, no opportunity for defense. What followed was deliberate and methodical. Jennifer concealed Matthew's body, removed evidence, abandoned his vehicle in a nearby neighborhood, and drove north to bury him in a shallow grave. The exact location remains unknown. After returning home, Jennifer began a thorough effort to erase all physical traces of what had happened. The bedroom was cleaned extensively. Bleach was used throughout the room. Carpets were scrubbed repeatedly. A new mattress was ordered and delivered just days later. But while physical evidence can be hidden, words cannot always be controlled. On September 22nd, just before midnight, Jennifer went to her lover's home and confessed. She described killing Matthew. She described burying him. She described cleaning the house. Her demeanor was calm and emotionally detached. When her lover noticed bruising on her body, she explained they resulted from burying Matthew and cleaning the scene. Disturbed by what he had heard, the man began recording their conversations. In one recorded phone call, Jennifer said words that would later become central to the case. He wasn't a person anymore. He wasn't Matt. She spoke with emotional distance, referring to her husband in the past tense before he was officially reported missing. 6 days later, Jennifer contacted police. By then, her lover had already provided recordings, text messages, and documentation to investigators. When police searched the home, they found blood beneath the bed, evidence of extensive cleaning, a newly replaced mattress, and GPS data confirming Jennifer's movements consistent with her confession. On October 2, 2024, Jennifer Gladhill was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. Weeks later, her parents were also arrested on obstruction-related charges after investigators determined they may have assisted in cleanup efforts and evidence concealment. Despite extensive searches across northern Utah, Matthew Johnson's body has never been recovered. Jennifer remains in custody and has pleaded not guilty. Her children remain without either parent, and Matthew Johnson remains missing. Somewhere, a father and soldier still waits to be found. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more investigations.